Brokering is a term that we apply to anybody in our society, or any society, that plays a role of standing between two things and facilitating a connection between them. I refer to what children do as brokering rather than translating, because translating implies moving language from one context to another, but doesn't necessarily carry what the cultural meanings would be. Interpreting gets us closer, but that also tends to stress language over other forms of brokering that might take place. Things like relationships with media technologies and devices, but also content. And so brokering better describes what kids are doing than translating or interpreting, in part because they're not necessarily just moving meaning from one context to another. They're also trying to make and maintain relationships for their families over time with doctors they can trust, with teachers, and so on. But they're not brokers like adult brokers. Most obviously they are children. I looked at kids who are between the ages of 11 and 19 because that shift into middle school is often the age where parents start to see their kids as not being children, but now able to help with more things now that they've left elementary school. And 18 or 19 is usually the age at which children have either finished high school or left high school and may or may not be living at home anymore, and therefore can't help on a day-to-day basis with a lot of things. So I use the word child really to apply to preteens and adolescents, not that younger children don't do this, and not that young adult children don't do this, but that the most intensive period of brokering is that preteen and adolescent phase, and I refer to them as children because that's their most salient identity. When they are doing these kinds of activities for their parents, they are identifying as their parent's child, and you can be your parent's child whether you are 5, 55, or 105. You're always your parent's child if that is the position that you're holding for that interaction. They don't lose that identity, and they self-identify as children. Even the ones who were in their mid to late adolescence would refer to activities that were too difficult for them because the language was very sophisticated or something that was simply beyond their grasp. They'd refer to it as grown-up stuff. And by referring to it as grown-up stuff, they're differentiating between what they can do and what grown-ups can do. And so they're very aware that even if they are dealing with very adult situations and adult topics, that they are children in those interactions. And that's a very important point, because there have been times when people have presumed that because these kids are speaking in place of their parents, that they are speaking without the consideration of their parents, and that I didn't find. This is not a case of children learn how to do things and take over from their parents, or that the authority in the household gets overturned, but rather that this is a very specific family strategy for how to engage all the skills that are available in a family to be able to solve problems collectively that would be harder to solve independently. It's not a strategy that is permanent. It's not a strategy that's unchanging. What I found when we went back and interviewed families 4 years later was that in all 3 families, parents were more capable of doing things on their own than they had been 4 years ago. They were more comfortable with English. They were more comfortable managing things on their own. They may not have been fluent quite yet, but they were managing many more things on their own. They still would consult with their kids about things that were more complicated, but simple interactions they were far more capable and more confident dealing with on their own. They felt more comfortable and familiar with the community. They felt more confident, and they felt like they belonged there. And so over time, there's an accumulative effect of being in a place. I would not claim that children had managed to facilitate that on their own, but rather that the family as a system has managed to create a greater sense of comfort and familiarity with a place over time through repeated interactions and through trial and error and through coming up with strategies that work for managing the community interactions that one needs in order to belong in a place and in order to survive, and even better than survive, to thrive there.